Year 9 project. Year 1, week 2. Survive the collapse. My name is Shepard. Last week I told you that collapse is coming and you have 9 years to prepare. I know, it's a hard pill to swallow. But now that you've had time to process that information, here's what I didn't tell you. How we actually survive what's coming. Because let me be clear, I'm not here to catalog the end of the world. I'm here to make sure the right people make it through. The good ones, the ones who give a damn. Because we need you to help us build something better. So this week we talk about survival, real survival, not the Hollywood version. And it starts with a history lesson. Here's the problem. You've accepted that collapse is coming, or at least you're entertaining the possibility, but you have no idea what to actually do about it. You're picturing yourself stockpiling canned goods in a bunker somewhere. You're thinking you need to learn to hunt, get a gun, become some kind of survivalist badass who can go it alone when everything falls apart. And I get it. That's what we've been conditioned to believe. Rugged individualism, self-reliance. The lone wolf survives while everyone else perishes. Here's the problem with that fantasy. It's bullshit. The lone wolf dies. Every time. Throughout all of human history. And I know you're feeling overwhelmed right now. You're isolated. You're looking around at the people in your life and wondering if any of them even see what's coming. You're wondering if you can do this alone because it feels like you might have to. But here's the philosophical problem that makes me angry because it's what led to this catastrophe. You shouldn't have to figure this out alone. The same system that created this collapse, the economics of domination and greed, that same system spent decades teaching you that you're an individual consumer, not a community member. It conditioned you to be isolated, atomized, easier to sell to, easier to control. And now, when you need community most, you don't know how to build one. That's not your fault, but it is your problem to solve. Let me show you something. Pattern recognition across civilizations. Every single empire built on the economics of domination and greed has collapsed within 250 to 300 years, every single one. Our current empire, the global capitalist system, is about 265 years old, depending on how you count. We're in the window of collapse. The only difference this time? It's global. Which means the collapse will be too. But, and this is crucial, there are other ways to organize human societies, and some of those societies lasted for thousands of years. I've spent years studying the ones that made it, the resilient ones, and they had a few things in common. First, they were democratic, collaborative, egalitarian partnership societies, not domination hierarchies, not patriarchy. Partnership. Second, they were loosely networked together with other similar groups, with a system of free exchange of information, goods, and community members. This ensured diversity of genetics, diet, resources, decentralized cooperation, not top-down control. Third, although they traded and sometimes even had money, they had no centralized market economy. Because here's the thing, centralized economics always leads to inequality, and inequality always leads to collapse. Here's the framework based on a traditional tribal federation model. To survive, we must emulate those resilient societies. Step 1. Find your people. Find your tribe. Start with those close to you, the ones you care about and respect. The ones who share your values. You're looking for good people, people you'd trust when things get hard, because they will get hard. This isn't about recruiting an army, it's about identifying a handful of committed people who see what's coming and want to prepare for it. Step 2. Build collective resilience. Your community needs to expand your base of knowledge and skills exponentially. One person can't know everything, but 10 people with different skills? That's resilience. Who knows gardening and farming? How to forage and identify plants that are safe to eat? Who knows water systems? Who knows construction, medicine, conflict resolution? Pool your knowledge. Share your skills. This is how humans have survived every crisis in history. Step 3. Create self-sustaining systems together. Your community, your tribe, must be able to produce its own water, food, shelter, and power, sustainably, with near zero waste. And keep in mind that location matters. Where you build your community is crucial. We'll talk more about that in future broadcasts, but the foundation, the absolute foundation, is community itself. A loose cooperative network of small democratic partnership communities. That's how we survive. That's how we rebuild. Let me be very clear about what happens if you don't do this. If you try to go it alone, if you cling to that lone wolf fantasy, you will not make it. Maybe you survive the initial collapse. Maybe you make it through the first winter. But in the long run, you die alone. Probably regretting that you didn't build community when you had the chance. And here's the harder truth. If the good people don't survive, if people that care, people like you don't make it through, then what comes next will be built by those who did. And I promise you, you won't like what they build. Domination systems are really good at surviving collapse. They've done it before. Warlords, authoritarians, those who are willing to do violence to take what they want. If we want something better on the other side, if we want partnership instead of domination, then the partnership people need to survive. You have 9 years to build your community. Don't waste them. Here's what it looks like when you get this right. You're part of a resilient partnership community, a tribe, 20, 50, but always less than 150 people who trust each other, who've built systems together, who know how to feed themselves, power their homes, manage their water. When the collapse hits, and it will hit, you're not alone. You're not panicking, wondering how you'll survive the next week. You're not isolated, trying to figure it all out by yourself. You're surrounded by people who have your back. People you've worked with, planned with, built with, for years. You're part of something bigger than yourself. And when the dust settles, when the old system has finally finished dying, you're still standing. Your community is intact, and you're ready to start building what comes next. Not a resuscitation of what we had. Not more of this same exploitative, greed-fueled extraction machine. Something better. Something sustainable. Something that might actually last 1,000 years instead of 250. That's not just survival. That's leadership. That's the future. So here's what I need you to do this week. Make a list. Write down the names of people in your life who you trust, who you respect, who share your values. People who might be willing to hear what you're hearing. You don't have to recruit them yet. You don't have to convince them of anything. Just identify them. Start thinking about who your people are, because survival begins with community. And community begins with you making a choice about who you want standing next to you when this thing comes down. Not ready to make the list? Fine. Download the Community Assessment Framework from the site. Read it. Think about it. But don't wait 9 years to start. My name is Shepard. We need the good people to survive if we want to build something better. Stay awake, stay alive, and start finding your people and building your tribe.